Here today to do some puzzles today with you guys. Um, I'll probably should do survival. That's probably what I should be doing. I was gonna do like a faster one, like that's what I normally do, but I just kind of realized that if I did that, then that would kind of make it difficult to really explain and follow. I would just have to like bullet them out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do a survival, and I'm gonna share this really quick. 1 second, please, to my groups before I get started. Eventually, I'm gonna stop sharing it to my groups, because I feel that if if you have it subscribed and a notification bell on, and I let you know ahead of time that I'm gonna be on, that maybe it may be easier to just yeah, basically wait till you hear that notification just to log in, without me constantly sharing it to the group. I feel like at this point I probably shouldn't have to do that, um, but that's okay at the same time. It's not. Eh, it's whatever. Eventually, I'll get it to the point to where I can. I guess I'm not there yet, where I can do that. So hopefully, I start to go on daily like I used to. Um, my wife was sick for a bit, and then I'm still taking care of her. She's not. She's still isn't fully recovered, but she is home, so that's definitely good. So I shouldn't have to like feel that I need to like basically do that and not do this. So I'm able to do this now. So I'm gonna try to get myself back into it. The only issue is now is that I'm not waking up at the same time I usually do. So I'm kind of doing it later than I normally do as well. Excuse me. Another thing that is an issue is that I um I am doing it around the time that the kids are in school because I don't want them in the background. I don't want the music. And I realized that me doing that, because I'm doing that, I realized that kids in this country are not going to be watching the video. Maybe in other ones, but around my area because they're in school. So, you know, I'm not sure if that matters too much though. You know, I don't know what I'm trying to think about my audience and what type of audience I want. So I'm not entirely sure how that would be affected, but I will figure all that out. Um, okay, I can see that this kind of is in the way a little bit. I think it's in the way, is it? Let me see. Yeah, it's in the way a little bit. It's over the pieces. So I'm gonna get rid of the chat thing. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to see anyone commenting because it gets in the way of the pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that. All right, I'm gonna just get started. No one's on, but that's okay. Um, People can watch after. Okay, so basically, to get started, these right here are in front of the king, and the queen is controlling the h7 square, so the king can't move up at all. That's like the first thing I noticed, and I can take his rook, and after I take rook, it'll be check, and because everything is blocked off, that will also be checkmate. This is a very common and simple checkmate. It's called back rank mate. Again, this is the first thing I noticed: the king in front of the pawns. You have to eventually. It's not good to move your pawns for no reason, but it's also not good to. It's even worse to not move your pawns when you're going to be a back rank threat for checkmate. I will always notice this first. Even in games, this is very important to do. I call it check. He'll take it. That'll be checkmate. So yeah, these are the most important checkmates to learn. Again, he's blocked off. He's not in the G square, so we don't have to worry about him going to F2. He's blocked off this way, and he can't obviously turn this direction. Nothing there. Okay. Check, capture, check, capture, and checkmate. Should be able to visualize that for your puzzles. It's something that's important to do in your mind. Um, I think if you're not used to it, I think the puzzles will help. You should at least be able to start to try to see 2, 3 moves ahead, and then after that, try to find like 3, 4 moves ahead. And there's different puzzles for that. So again, he's blocked off, no escape. Back rank make is the most easiest one to do, and the first one you should remember. I notice he's blocked off, but there's no way to come in this direction at all. So the next thing is look at squares that are attacking, and the queen is attacking the g2 pawn. The queen is defended by the bishop, which means when the queen goes to g2, it's protected, and the king can't capture. Because if the king were to capture, the bishop would take the king, and that's checkmate. So, all right, almost the same thing. There's a battery here, but this time it's a queen and a rook battery. So basically, be check, and that would be checkmate because he can't move. So this game. White to move. So basically here, this is check. He'll move back. Rooks do not move like that. He'll move back. I'll take. He'll move back. I'll take. And it is protected by. I mean, he is blocked in by his own pawns. So checks, captures, and threats. Check and checkmate. Check, checkmate. All right, so I'm pretty sure by now, hopefully you understand back rank checkmates pretty well. This is very simple, but the next step will be knowing how to put a king in check. The king would have to move away because it's defended by the rook, so he can't take the queen. And then calling check, and basically this is setting up the pattern instead of just doing the pattern itself outright. So this is setting up the pattern. So once you learn patterns, it's important to learn how to set up patterns for it after learning how to do them. So once you learn how to do certain things, you got to learn how to set them up. And this right here is setting it up. This right here is check. The king would move over, and nothing else will happen. But if I call check this way, the bishop can move. I can take here and take the rook maybe. Maybe the puzzle is not checkmate this time. Maybe the puzzle is winning a full piece. Bishop move back. I go here. There's nothing to block it off. Usually a bishop, if the bishop is here, it can protect the rook, and the rook is protecting the knight, and the knight's protecting the bishop. But in this case, that's not going to happen. So I think that's the puzzle. Okay. Here, if I call check, and the king has only one square left, which makes it easy to calculate. So basically, I can put my queen here and call it check, and the king only have one square would be here. And then the queen can go over to h8 and call it check, and the king would have to move one of these two squares, doesn't matter which one, and then you win the queen. So there's a lot of maneuvering to win a queen, but definitely well worth it. And to make note, see the king's here, and he's basically has everything in front of him. If at the end of this, let's pretend he had a rook right here, he would be able to checkmate me. If that was the case. Well, actually, not really, because the rook can go back. But you know what I mean. Something you'd have to pay attention to, like a small detail like that while attacking. Otherwise, you can win a piece and then get checkmated. So it's important to not do that. But here you win the queen. Okay, they didn't show it, but you win the queen. That's pretty much the puzzle. White to move. Now, we're talking about setting up checkmates instead of just doing checkmate. Here, this is a check, attacking the king. The king can't move to the f8 square because of the bishop. He has to move back. And this sets up the back rank mate by check, take, and checkmate. And the reason why it sets it up is that if this piece wasn't here and the queen wasn't here, if I just move the rook back here to check to d8, the king will be able to move out. So moving the queen here first pushes them back to set up checkmate. If I just simply move the queen here first to d8 and call it check, I will simply just lose my queen and the king will come out and I'm in trouble. So it's important to, this move here is super important to do first. Check, captures, and threats. This is check. He'll move over. A8, check. And same thing. Checkmate. Just setting it up. If you haven't noticed, like the first couple were just the simplest back rank mates. And then after that, there's a little bit of setting up, like one move setups. And you can guess as you get more advanced, you'll be doing more and more setting up as time goes on. Here, this is the attack twice. I like this actually, because I can take this and call it check. And the king, if he moves over to h1, this knight can come over and call it checkmate, which I really like these checkmates. Now, if I call it check this way, and the king moves over to f1, you have this checkmate right here, which also forks the queen, which is kind of cool, but it doesn't matter because it's still checkmate. So if the queen was here or not, it wouldn't make a difference. But I kind of like it just because the queen is also being attacked. So he chose to go this way instead. So this is checkmate this way. If he chose to go this way, as I said, this right here will also be checkmate. So he should have lost in style. The other one was much nicer. All right, so another puzzle. Now, I can just take this rook for free. My first thought was calling check, but if he takes it and I take it back, what am I doing? All right. But if I take this rook for free, this queen can move down, call it check, move the king up, and that's it. It's basically nothing else is happening. So it looks like a very simple and straightforward, yeah. Just take it. Okay. Checks, captures, and threats. Check. Move over. If I take it, it's a free piece. Okay. I get a free piece. There's only two pieces that I have. So I'm assuming that this puzzle has nothing to do with a free piece because I'm going to lose the game. Like, this is me losing the game. Let's say check, move over, check, move up, check, move out. Queen goes here for check. Yeah. So am I supposed to go here first? But then if I go here first, this would be check. Checkmate. Yeah, I don't like this puzzle. I don't like this one. This would be check. You move over, check, move up. Oh, this queen move right here is important. This right here covers all these squares, covers all these squares. He's in check. All these squares are covered. He has nowhere to go. That's checkmate. Okay. I didn't like it at first, but this is a checkmate right here. The bishop's defending it. Everything's, everything's taken care of. This is check. And after this check, the king is forced to move back, but he might move the pawn up first because of the computer. And then you take the pawn and call it check again. Then he'll move back, and then that would be mate. So So this is a setup again for a back rank mate. Now here, it looks like I win the queen for free. But then what? You know, I have a queen and a rook versus a rook and 3 minor pieces, which 3 minor pieces is better than a queen. So I don't think the puzzle is to get the queen. I think the puzzle would have. Ooh, there's another thing. If I take the queen, he'll take my queen. Then what? Yeah, that's even horrendous. That's very horrendous. So now I can just call check. You have to move up, and this right here will be checkmate. So that's basically it. All right, I had 20 fine. My goal when I was intermediate and started doing puzzles, my goal was to reach 20. That was my goal. My goal now is to make at least I like to do 30 without getting anything wrong, because I feel like I want to be able to play like 30, 40 perfect moves, best moves in a row. The reason why is because in the puzzles you're doing like 2, 3 moves, and if you do 30 of 3 moves or 2, 3 moves, that's basically 60 to 90 moves where everything was correct. And for me, I feel like that's practice for a game of trying to get like a full, even though the game isn't this tactical and obvious advantage every time, I still like to try to think of those terms of trying to find the best moves for at least 60 to 90 in a row. That's pretty much what I like to do. So let's see here. All right, black to move. If I were to move this pawn, the rook would just come out here. I don't like that. This right here is a check. This king, I'm not sure where he'll go. He'll probably move this way. If I move up, he can. I can make a queen. He can take the bishop. See, I don't know what the best move here is, but if I had a game, I would just call a check. He can't move here or here. He had to move back. Then I move the pawn. This is what I would do. And if he were to attack the pawn, I would just defend it. And then if he were to take the pawn, I would take it. He would go down. Ooh, he would make a queen. I would lose the game if I did that in a game. So check. Move out the way. He'll attack it. This here defends and attacks here. And if he were to take it, and I were to take back, he can't move down because I can take it, and this pawn might be able to make it. So I think that's the way to go. All that for nothing. I wish I can review it. Usually when I try to review them, it causes me problems because when I'm recording, I screen sharing the specific tab, not the whole screen. And the reason why I do that is because sometimes I go back and forth to the top of the screen to look at my chat. So that's pretty much why I do that. So that's why I can't go back and review it, because I'm on the tab itself. So, all right. Checks, captures, and threats. Right now, the rook is pinned. And if I call check over here, it'll be checkmate because the king cannot move forward at all. So the first thing I noticed was the pin, but I also noticed this as well because it's basically with the pawns all in dark squares, that usually consider light square weakness, and the queen's on a light square. So it's kind of like, where can my queen fit in here, or where can my bishop fit in here? It's pretty much a question you'd have to ask if you're not in immediate danger. Or even if you are in immediate danger, if your danger is even quicker than your opponent's danger. That's important to distinguish between the two. And in this case, the light squares, he can just walk right in there and call it check. In this case, checkmate, because the rook is blocking him and the queen is attacking these squares, and the queen is also covering the G2 square. So the king has no escape. He's like blocked in by two of his pieces, and yeah, it's all over. All right, checks, captures, and threats are the main three that I try to find for. In this situation, my first thing I notice is a check here, and it's protected by the pawn. And the king can't move in these directions because of the queen. The queen has all these squares covered, and the two squares that the queen doesn't have covered is covered by his own pieces. So he can't obviously capture. He can't capture his own pieces. So that's checkmate. All right, checks, captures, and threats. In this situation here, the first thing I notice is wrong, because this is the first thing I notice here is, and I'm like, he can call check, but then after the king moves, it's not very clear what I should do in any of the situations. Really, I don't see something immediate, very quick. The other thing I notice is that if I call check this way, he can't take it because he's pinned. So now it's like, all right, this is controlled by the knight. This is pinned by the queen. So there's a back rank is all that's left, and that's basically for free. So that's basically a back rank checkmate, pinning a piece and also controlling one of the squares. So that's checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. One thing I noticed is that the king doesn't have any squares on the E file. It's completely covered. The knights are protecting each other, so the king can't take the knight. King can't move up because the pawn. King can't move here. King can't move here because the knight. And the king can't go over here because the other knight. So basically, the king has no squares at all. Everything is completely covered. Everything. So all you have to do in this situation is put the king in check. Since everything is completely covered, if you can put him in check, that will also be checkmate at the same time. And in this case, you can't do that with a pawn, and it's checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. I don't notice anything immediate that I can see doing. Something simple like this, you can just take it. And obviously, if I call it check, you can take it this way. So I don't see, these are only two checks that are available. That's the first thing you can calculate, super easy. Captures, there's nothing that really I can capture beside a pawn, and those are bad right now. So checks, captures, and then there's threats. So now it's like, well, do I have any threats I can actually do? And that's basically what I have to look for now. So established checks are no good, captures are no good. So now what type of threats can I make? And right now the knight's under attack as well. So I have to look for that. Now if I move my queen here, it'll be threatening checkmate, but he's also attacking this pawn, this knight. So if I go here to d4 for checkmate, he will just simply take the knight. And I don't have a follow-up after that. I mean, I can't even go here because of his knight. So it might take me a tiny bit of time to figure out exactly like what to do here, because there's no immediate checks, no immediate captures. And in a game, it'd be easy just to be like knight to h6 to protect your knight. That will probably be like the very easiest thing for a lot of people to do. But of course, it's a puzzle, so that's not the case. So now I'm trying to look for threats, and I really don't see anything immediate. I also have this check here, which I didn't notice. I noticed these two checks were bad. but I didn't notice this check right here. The king, let's say he can move the pawn up, I can take it as well. So let's say the king moves. This is controlled by the knight. These are controlled by the knights. So if I come here and call it check, that'll be checkmate. So that's the answer. I'm looking around for more threats, and it was actually a check. All right, so checks, captures, and threats. Checks are the easiest to calculate. I just didn't see one immediately. A little embarrassing. I'm used to finding them right away, but that's okay. Checks, captures, and threats. So let's say there's no checks against the king. I can't capture anything immediately, but this knight is defending the rook. So if I can attack this knight, I can win the rook, right? Because I can just take it. So if I attack the knight this way with my rook, and he were to move the knight to defend it, then the rook will be for free. And that's pretty much what I'm looking at. I can't do it this way because he'll just take the bishop, and I can't do it this way because he'll just take the bishop again. So the only way I can threaten this knight is rook to e1. Is basically to attack the defender or remove the defender. And after I attack the knight, he can't move the rook to defend it. Like if this pawns weren't here, he could just move back and defend the rook. I mean the knight, but he can't do that. So that should be the answer. Okay. He's threatening my rook, but when I take his rook and he takes mine, I can take his knight. So I'll be winning. It'll be a very easy endgame with pawns and bishop versus pawns. All right. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. Check. He can move back. And I gotta find something immediate because I do know that if you look at this situation here, he can come in and call check and take my rook and cause some mayhem over here. So if I'm calling check and he can move over, I got to figure out what to do after that. I mean, if he goes over here, that'd be checkmate. So he's not going to go over that direction. He would have to go to f8. Let's pretend I go queen to d7. Let's just pretend threatening mate. How serious is his threat? So he can call it check. I can move up, and he'll take the rook, and then I'll call checkmate. So that actually might be the answer, but I have to figure out as well another thing. Like I'm not going to rush and be like, oh, I found the checkmate, let me make a move. I have to figure out also is there another way for him to attack me, basically? So it's check, move over, me down here, check, I move up. Instead of taking the rook, he can not go here because of my rook. My rook is protecting that square. So because my rook is protecting that square, he can't come up to call it check that way. And I think I'm covered. So he does seem to have some type of attack, but I don't think it's enough for any concern. Oh, he has a bishop as well. So check, come in, check. Let's say I move up. The bishop calls check. I can move over. He has a queen check up here. Bishop has these squares covered. The queen has all this covered. It can force me down. I'm not even sure, but I'm starting to wonder if he can checkmate me. If I move the queen back down this way, attacking, call check. He can move up. Yeah, I think the rook can come over and call check. I'm not even sure, to be honest. In a real game, it is very possible. I'm gonna make the move anyways, But I'm gonna review this on an engine afterward by myself because I feel like he can checkmate me. But I'm gonna go ahead and anyways. Okay. So maybe it was a different move that I was supposed to play. Maybe the move that I played will lead to checkmate against me. That was really interesting. I'm definitely going to have to go back over that and pause it and put it in engine and look at it myself and try to see if like that was a checkmate that I seen. 'Cause I thought black can do a checkmate like maybe 6 or more moves. I forget the exact number. But anyways, all right. Checks, captures, and threats. This is a check. He only has one escape square. Check. He move back, and this would be a checkmate. It's a very simple pattern. Feels kind of weird seeing a very simple pattern after the last puzzle. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's say I take, and he takes back. I can fork the queen and the knight. I don't see an actual checkmate, so it looks like I'll be winning a piece. Checks, captures, and threats. I don't see any immediate checks. I mean, I can threaten a discovered check, but I don't see an immediate check. So it's not an immediate check. Captures. I also don't see any immediate capture. So I do like the idea of a discover attack in this sense, but if I move the knight anywheres, he can just take this knight. So I don't feel that that is either the correct answer. Let's see here. If I were to take this knight and he were to take here, I can call it check and I can win the bishop. So I feel like this is a free piece because if he does that, I would just take this piece as well. So, ooh, that's a little different. So now if I take here, he can just take my knight. So I can call it check. My rook is already protected. And if he were to take, I can take the rook. And if I call check this way, the king actually has no squares to move. Everything is covered. So he'll be forced to capture, actually. And I can take the rook. So it's probably the answer. All right, checks, captures, and threats. Check, he'll take. Check, he'll move somewhere in the dark squares and take the rook, which would be, you should win something like this. And if all the pawns were off the board and it was just a rook and a bishop versus rook, I believe it's a draw endgame, but with proper defense. Still hard to do. Well, for me it is. All right, check. This will also be checkmate. Feels weird having puzzles like that simple after ones that are a little bit not as simple. Checks, captures, and threats. If I were to call it check, he can take, I'll take, and I'll lose. So that's not good. That was the first check that I noticed. Let's see here. Now he has a checkmate against me, like immediately. So whatever I'm doing, it has to be check. So if I call it check and he were to take, I would have called it check. He's forced to move back. The bishop calls check. King moves back, and that would be checkmate. So like I see that I'm in danger, and it's one move. So everything has to be a check. Okay. White to move. And here, if you move up and the king goes 1 2 squares, you basically have to create a pass pawn. And the only way you can't create a pass pawn this way. You have to move the G pawn first. And this pawn right here has no one blocking it directly, which means that he would have to capture. And if you capture back, you have one that's just gonna like massively make it. So move up. Let's say the king moves. You move up. The king, if the king takes this pawn here, then you just basically make a queen. So that's the answer. Yeah, you just March it up. Checks, captures, and threats. This is the first check I see. And if the king moves over for any reason, you really can't, like, a check like this and the queen go in front of it. It's not exactly workable. I mean, if this rook was able to come in, maybe, but it's not. So this is a check. It's the first check I noticed. It might be a wrong check. Let's see, I called check. The queen were to take. And I called check this way. Changing the order up doesn't really make a difference. Let's see here. There's no immediate danger against the king either. So I'm not really rushed for time or pressed for an immediate checkmate that requires all checks. But if I do call a check and he moves over, I'm wondering if the rook can help somehow, but I really can't. I can't move the king out the way to like double up or triple up for a checkmate. I don't have time for that. And for that reason, I'm a little bit confused. I do feel like this is the first move, though, even though I don't see a follow-up. Oh, I can attack the rook as well, right here. Because the rook is hanging, and he can't defend it because the bishop is right there. So I think attacking the hanging rook is the idea. Nope. Okay. 33 is not so bad. I'm usually happy as long as I get above 30, and it's been like over a month since I've been doing these. Because like I said, my wife was sick, so I kind of stopped for a bit, but that's not bad. Not bad at all. All right. Like, subscribe, and share. Hopefully, going over these puzzles will help you understand puzzles a little bit better, especially in the beginner area, intermediate a little bit. The first 10 were like super basic checkmates and super simple ways of doing back rank mates. And then it went from that to a setup of a back rank mate by one move, and then a setup of back rank mate by two moves. So it kind of slowly progressed, and I thought it was kind of nice. So hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, like, subscribe, share, and if you want to do more, you can always donate. I have the link in the description for YouTube and for Twitch. I believe it's on my channel somewhere at Chess for Beginners. Like I said, I know I've been kind of off for like a month ish, but I'm going to start getting back into it. So, all right, thank you.